Jenna Morton.
And I'm Tosh Taylor, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking about a very exciting upcoming event for the IWK. Joining us today is the New Brunswick Relationships Coordinator with the IWK Foundation, Lissa Mallais. Lissa, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we have a whole lot to talk about with the IWK Foundation and the radiothon and telethons because it is a big year.
It is. We're celebrating an important milestone at the IWK.
Yeah, 40 years.
40 years of telethon.
Yeah. Now, if you're doing the math, that's 1984. Sorry to anybody born in 1984. Or happy birthday.
Or before.
Yeah. Yeah. So 40 years brings a lot of excitement for the IWK. But first, I'd like to talk more about the IWK and its role here in New Brunswick.
Yes. So the IWK is a tertiary health center, which means that we provide specialized care for children before the time they're born until 16 years old, or 21, and more in some cases. So our service range from kidney transplant, cardiac care, to cancer treatment, and pediatric intensive care, just to name a few, neurology, mental health, rheumatology. Also, we have traveling clinics, so specialists take their expertise in forms of traveling clinics and visit different communities in the Maritimes, including Moncton, to minimize the traveling families have to do to go to the IWK. And the care there varies from pediatric neurology, orthopedics, cardiology, and respiratory medicine.
Wow.
Yeah.
For people who are listening and watching who maybe are new to the area and aren't familiar with IWK and why New Brunswick patients would be going to Nova Scotia, can you talk a little bit about the importance of the facility and who it serves?
Right. So as mentioned, like, we are the only tertiary center for maritime children and youth. So if we don't have the specialized care here, the IWK is the next stop for our maritime families. And I can talk a little bit about New Brunswick numbers, but like specific to New Brunswick. So in 2022 and 2023, our children and youth spent more than 5,591 days as inpatients at the IWK, which equals to 756 visits. Actually, that has increased considerably from the previous year for almost 1,000 days more and 100 visits more. Wow. So very considerable numbers. And also children and youth made more than 15,706 outpatient visits, made more than 247 emergency department visits, more than 635 surgeries, day surgeries. And the traveling clinics that I mentioned, there was over 1,600 visits to those, and we had 18 New Brunswick babies born at the IWK. So these numbers make us realize how vital the IWK is to families of our communities and our province, and also makes us realize how much we depend on donors and their support to make sure that families that come to the IWK can have access to the best care possible, and that's what we aim to do when raising funds.
There's something that I think is really important for people to realize, because when we say the IWK and people go, okay, it's in Halifax, but I think once upon a time I was told 1 in 5 families essentially is the assessment for New Brunswick. So you know someone that's used the services of the IWK. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are guaranteed in your circle of friends, one of your families has used the IWK services, whether it be minor or more. It's definitely, and like you said, like, it's important for donors, and it's because of that reason, because you just never know.
Oh, we say it. Everyone has a story about the IWK. If it's not your own, it's somebody you know, somebody from your family, a colleague, a friend, a neighbor. We all have that story. It connects us all.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people who are new to the area are sometimes surprised that we don't have a facility like this on our own in New Brunswick, but it has to do with the population and having enough work for the specialists who are at the IWK. You wouldn't see enough of the cases if you only did, some of this neurology in New Brunswick, for example. So drawing from the Maritimes keeps so much skill in the Maritimes for all of us to benefit from having this at the IWK.
Exactly. And the goal is always to keep families close to home as best as possible. So if there's an opportunity to collaborate with the local hospitals, the IWK will do that. That's always the main goal, but sometimes families need to come to the IWK to get the care they need.
And that's something that can happen quickly. Like we're here in the Moncton area, but it's what, a 2-hour drive to the IWK, or much shorter if they bring you by helicopter, which is something that can happen pretty cool. I did once upon a time get a tour of the IWK, and the helipad was part of the tour. I didn't want to be up there, but it was neat knowing that that service is available, and obviously not just available for our province, but for surrounding Atlantic provinces as well.
Yes, and that brings a good point with Life Flight, which is, you know, an urgent situation, and right now we're in the middle of an emergency redevelopment. We're building a new emergency that will be double the size, because we continue to see an increased number of patients needing urgent care, which would impact us in New Brunswick certainly, and so we will double in size our emergency, and it's, as I mentioned, critical care is very expensive, and this project is over $128 million. The foundation is raising $26 million of that to be able to, so important impact that donors have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk a little bit about the role of the foundation and the fundraising versus kind of day-to-day operational money. I think some people don't always understand why we have to fundraise for our hospitals.
Right, so critical care is complicated and expensive. While government oversees the operational costs of the IWK, we would not be able to do what we do if it wasn't for donor support. Donations help with our areas of greatest need, which include much needed pieces of equipment without which specialists couldn't do what they're able to do. We also invest in research and new facilities at the IWK, which, as mentioned, the emergency department is an example of that. So donors really make the IWK what it is. We would not be able to do it without them.
So 40 years with the fundraising that's happening with the radiothon and the telethons that everybody, we all know about it. You've seen it on your screens, you've heard it on your radios over the years. So we're going to give you a little bit of a flashback to the past 40 years with the IWK telethon.
So great. If we can do that in 2.5 minutes, we can do much, much more before this telethon is over.
And Gary Murphy and Dave White, are you standing by in St. John?
Thank you very much, Don. It's a great pleasure to have with us right now the Mayor of the City of St. John, Her Worship Elsie Wayne. And Elsie, you've been involved with the telethon with us here at CHSJ and the CBC since it started.
Yes,
This
I
is
have.
our 5th year, and if I recall, the first year you come over to Halifax and had a visit
Yes,
to the
I did.
IWK.
I went with Sally Clark. Yes, I
Right,
did.
and every participation day you had a little something for us, for the kids at the IWK, but you're here today in a different role.
Yes.
As a grandparent of Matthew Wayne.
That's right.
Tell us the story.
Well, when Matthew was born, he had a problem in his esophagus, which we were not aware of, but his food kept regurgitating and the acid kept burning his esophagus. And then when he was about 4 or 4.5 months old, he started to bleed from the mouth and bleed from the rectum. We immediately took him to our hospital, of course, Gary, and they immediately got in touch with the IWK because he was so tiny to have such a problem. And through the instructions of the IWK here, they gave him medication, but he didn't seem to be progressing. And so one day we were told to bundle him up. We were going to the IWK. So off we went, and we held Matthew all the way over. And I have to say, the minute we walked through the door of the IWK, they directed us, we told them it was Matthew Wayne, they directed us to a room where a doctor was waiting for us. We undressed Matthew and she examined him, and then she asked us questions, and then she said, now I will draw a picture for you of what is wrong with the baby. She told us that Matthew would be treated and that he would have a lot of distress, that if this didn't cure him, they could operate, but they were going to treat him first. They moved a bed in beside Matthew's crib, and myself and my daughter-in-law Sandra took turns staying with him, and we felt that they had full command of the situation. But there were times when Matthew was in terrible pain. But the doctors, when they would see that Sandra or myself were upset, they would come and sit and talk to us and tell us not to worry, that this went with the problem, that things would get better.
Just gave you that confidence.
Oh, it was just marvelous. It really was. And the wee ones that were around, and I saw a lot of our children from New Brunswick there
Yes.
while I was there, a lot of children. But Matthew had to sleep in a sling when he came home. He was still treated through our pediatrician here who kept in touch with the IWK. And I'm so happy as a nanny to say that Matthew's running around today, a healthy young lad, all because of the IWK.
Isn't that just great,
Yes.
Elsie? It makes you feel good, and
Oh, it
knowing
really
especially
does.
Matthew is healthy again.
And
as
many
you
children are healthy because of the IWK, Gary.
Elsie, I was saying to our producer here, Mel Johnson, that no matter whom you talk to, someone, either they have a cousin or a nephew or a son or a daughter, has been to the IWK from New Brunswick.
Oh, look, you walk through the door. When they took me over 5 years ago to see, and when we walked through the door, they had people waiting for us from New Brunswick with babies and little ones in arms and little ones running around. It was a beautiful sight to see. So I hope everyone will support the IWK.
I certainly hope so.
I hope so,
Mayor
Gary.
Elsie, thank you very much for dropping in, and
You're
say
welcome.
hello to that Matthew Wayne for
I
us.
will. Thank you.
Okay, back to Halifax.
Well, I must say Mayor Elsie Wayne of St. John has been an avid supporter of Telethon since its very first time, I think, and we're delighted to have that kind of support. Thank you very much, Mayor Wayne. All right, off we go to the tote board to see how we are doing. Hey! How about that? We've got the two big ones almost in our pockets, haven't we? 2 million. That's terrific. All right, now we've got to say goodbye. I've spent all day, 24 hours saying goodbye. Normally, goodbye again.
Goodbye. It's amazing how fast the
And
time
you
goes
will be
by.
back, of course.
I will try to get back at the end of the show.
Okay. If you have a fixation about chaos, do.
Okay.
Because that's what we're offering.
Gonna let the air out of you like Big Ben's buns?
It's already out. Wayne, you're on your way too?
Yes, for a little while. I'm going to be back though at 5 o'clock, right
Okay.
through to the happy ending tonight.
Exactly. Well, we're going to look forward to having you all back again. Thanks very much. And we are now going to join our friends in Anaheim, California, for the international section of the show.
Once again, a warm welcome for Children's Miracle Network's Canadian chairman, Mr. Rich Little.
I don't know about you, but I absolutely love archival footage. So that was so interesting to think about the way things have changed over the years in terms of fundraising. Talk a little bit about, you know, the 40 years ago versus today and what's going to happen now for your fundraising.
Yeah, 40 years is a lot of time, and we've been lucky back in the days when Carol Young and some very awesome maritime passionate volunteers started the telethon, and to see what it is today, and we are excited to pay tribute to those 40 years with a Chabrut show on Saturday night from 6 to 9 p.m., where we are going to celebrate all the people that have made the IWK Telethon possible, from volunteers to donors, of course, healthcare providers, families who have generously shared their stories, and executive IWK staff. Everyone will be paid tribute to on that evening.
Well, that'll be fun. Yeah. So this year, I know every year there is a main goal. So what is the main goal for this year's 40th anniversary?
Well, last year we broke a record amount by raising over $7 million with the telethon.
Holy.
So the goal is we hope to raise as much, if not more, to meet the increasing needs of the IWK. The needs continue to grow, and so those funds are so critical year after year. So the hope is that we can reach that and perhaps more.
Yeah. I can see it.
Are there specific projects that this money is going to go to that's raised? You talked a bit about the emergency care.
Yes. So we have some pieces of equipment that we will be raising funds for. I have a few examples here with me. So first of all, we will be looking at purchasing 8 sleep chairs, which are used for the birth unit and are over $2,600 each.
Wow.
So,
Like I can see the image of it here on the paper, and I'm like, yep, I remember that pattern. Yep. Those make so much difference. Those chairs are
Yes.
amazing.
oh yes, exactly. And also we'll be raising funds for a slip lamp, which is a microscope for the eye. We need one for the emergency department, which is over $7,000. Just for that piece. We also will be raising funds for syringe pumps, which we have talked about in many telethons. We need 10 for PICU and PMU and MSNU, which are over $3,600 each. And so that's just a few examples of what we're going to be raising funds for.
Okay. Can you explain, and I know that you work for the foundation and not the IWK, but what is the PICU?
The Pediatric Intensive Care Unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to lead into these itty bitty diapers that are on the counter here. Can we talk about like just like the size of some of these tiny little people that are born at the IWK? Because I don't think people realize how itty bitty babies can be. And Jenna had a couple of itty bitty babies herself, so
I know how little
yeah,
they
she
can
knows
be.
how little they can be. But the size of these diapers that Lissa brought in, for example, would this fit a Cabbage Patch, Lissa?
I was going to say that diaper's huge. I don't know what you're talking about. Now this looks more like what
Exactly.
I remember.
Really?
Yeah, those
Oh,
are
this
our
this would have
tiniest
like covered my
patients.
entire child. This one is and this is a preemie one.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's still like it's bigger than my hand for those of you who are just listening and can't see this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the teeny tiny one that fell out of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just to show, like I have here a newborn size diaper, which
Okay.
most of us have seen at least once in our lifetime, and sometimes they're too small for newborn babies.
Both of mine.
Yeah, so you see here the preemie diaper next to you, which is the one we use for our babies, and sometimes those are too big, so then we use the nano diapers are the ones used. And people might not realize it, but by donating to the IWK, you're helping save these babies amongst so many other patients that we care for. Why? Because of funds we get, we have the funds to invest in equipment like, incubators and smart pumps and Billy blankets. We also have the funds for research where babies can be saved as early as 23 weeks gestation. Full term is 40 weeks. And we also have the funds for new facilities, new and improved facilities, like our brand new NICU that we opened a few years ago, which has, and the NICU being neonatal intensive care unit, where we care for these babies, and we open a brand new unit with 38 private rooms for families to stay right there with their families. And that was 100% donor funded. So donations really do make a world of difference.
And I can tell you as well that NICU is studied by people around the world. I do a lot of work with the Canadian Premature Babies Foundation and get to speak with experts from across the globe. And what's happening at the IWK is up there in the world in terms of what is happening with patient care for preemies and babies who need care in an intensive environment and their families. So it's really spectacular that we have that here on the East Coast.
And that's what I say to everyone I come across, how amazing the IWK is. It's the last place you want to be, but you're grateful that it is there, and it is top of its class, and it's right here in the Maritimes. We have that because of donors.
Absolutely. So let's talk more about the upcoming event, which it starts on May the 31st.
Yes.
And it runs through June the 2nd.
Right,
So
correct.
3 solid days of fundraising. So, I mean, I feel like the over $7 million goal shouldn't be a problem in 3 days, right? Like
I love your attitude.
Maybe,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe I'm a little positive, but
Maritimers are very generous.
yes, it's true. But I imagine for you growing up here on the East Coast to now be a part of it, and you have been, like, you've been working for the foundation for many years now, but I can imagine it probably your first Radiothon Telethon came around and it was a bit surreal for you. Yeah.
Yes, back in, well, I won't date myself, but many, many years ago. Yes, and to see the evolution and the continued generosity and working with so many generous donors across the Maritimes, and for me here in New Brunswick, is a privilege. Like, we have so amazing people that give, funds and their time to make these events possible, and we are so grateful for that.
Absolutely. So what are ways that people can donate?
So the first day on May 31st, we'll have a radiothon where people can call in to our 1-800 number. They can also go online to our website, iwkfoundation.org, to make their donations. And then on telethon weekend, on Saturday night and Sunday, Saturday night being from 6 to 9, and then Sunday from 9 to 6, to tune in on CTV and listen to the broadcast and call in your donation, text, or by on our website.
Okay.
What is it about the idea of kind of that intensity of the weekend that works so well for fundraising? Can you talk about, like, do you know what the magic is? Why does having it concentrated make such a difference?
I think it's perhaps a sense of urgency, because the IWK's needs are constant. The funds that we need are always needed year round. So those pieces of equipment, needing to raise that money in that moment, rallying the support of the Maritimers during that weekend is a big part of that.
With each year, there are ways that you can sign on to be like a donor all the time. It doesn't have to be like, here's my one lump sum. You could make specific donations and set up to make is it a monthly donation, if I remember properly?
It is a monthly donation,
Okay.
so we encourage, those are one of our important donors that we have, because it's consistent funds that we can rely on. So we encourage people during the weekend to sign on to be a monthly donor, as little as $19 or more if it's possible. And monthly donors really make a big difference to the funds that we're able to raise on that weekend and year round.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's a great way too, if you're not sure that you can you want to make a big impact, but you don't have a lot of extra money at the time, thinking of in that terms of, $20 a month, I can, that's one night we don't eat out that we can donate instead. So.
Yeah, very true. Excellent.
One of the things that the telethon, I think, is kind of known for is highlighting family stories as well. Do you have some New Brunswickers that are going to be part of your celebration this year, we'll call it?
Yes, we have. We try to find families from all the corners of the Maritimes to feature. So we'll see many of those families from different communities, including New Brunswick, which we're excited to share their story, and so grateful that they are sharing their story with us.
Yeah, they're excellent stories. Throughout the year, there's different fundraisers as well. I was just thinking of, I met one of the kids this past year at Miracle Treat Day, which is a very easy and fun way to celebrate the IWK as well, and to help out and make those donations. Can we talk quickly about Miracle Treat Day as well?
Yeah.
How much of the proceeds from the blizzards go to the IWK Foundation then?
So 100% of the proceeds from that day from sales of blizzards go to the IWK. This year it's August 8th. Just putting it out there.
Okay,
Perfect.
write it
Good.
down.
Mark it on the calendar.
You will hear about it soon enough, but those are just one of the many partners that we celebrate on Telethon weekends. So it's not only people calling in, but we celebrate all different kind of donors, from businesses to community groups to events that have fundraisers year round that we recognize on Telethon weekend. So Dairy Queen is one of them that we're so lucky to have their support. We also have right now Costco and Walmart in campaign, where if you go through the cash, they'll ask for a donation for the IWK, and those raise so much money. Costco raised over $525,000 last year, and that's 5 warehouses in the Maritimes. And Walmart is over 1.3 million, and that's part of that 7 million. But it's all those donors together. We say every dollar counts, and it really does, because that makes all that money raised on Telethon weekend possible.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we're going to blow your goal out of the water. All right, 7? I don't know, 8 sounds much better.
I agree.
think.
I agree.
Yeah, let's go for 8 this year. So remind people again of the website where, they might hear it on the radio, they might catch it on their TV, but they can always find you online.
Exactly. So IWKfoundation.org is our website, or people can call in at 1-800-595-2266 and tune in on the Telethon weekend on June 1st and 2nd, and the Radiothon on May 31st on 10 different stations across New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
Incredible. Lisa, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching and for listening, and we hope you'll join us again next week.